What's going on, guys? Today we are doing an even deeper dive into the search query performance reports on Amazon for Seller Central. And if you haven't yet seen the episode, I think it was like 2 or 3 episodes ago, but it was titled The Best Data Available on Amazon Search Query Performance Reports. Watch that video first, because this episode is building on that. And in that episode, you saw us talking about the Seller Utilities Chrome extension that helps us to pull in that data that we were using to have higher level reporting to clients. And today we are joined by Uri Rahimi, who is the creator of the Seller Utilities Chrome extension. And he's going to be showing us a few extra hacks and tips and ways to use the tool and make it even more powerful to add to your arsenal. So Uri, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so tell us real quickly, get the people who don't know you yet introduced, what do you do? And because I always think it's very interesting that you're doing a lot of coding and developing this, this little Chrome extension software thing, but you're not a programmer by trade, right?
Well, I'm let's see. Technically, I guess maybe I am, since I got a degree in computer science, but I never, worked as a programmer at a job officially, and the reason for that is I never got a job offer as an engineer. So my I guess journey for anyone concerned was I started selling like textbooks in high school, and then naturally I started selling those on Amazon. And then once I went to college, I studied computer science, and then my sophomore year I was trying to get internships, and then I was home the whole summer because I didn't get any internship offers. Then, long story short, I started, what turned out to be several brands on Amazon. So all throughout college, I was, growing my brand, fulfilling orders both on Shopify and on Amazon from my dorm room. I ended up scaling that quite a bit, such that by the time senior year rolled around, I was able to create a pretty decent income. And then since then, I've been doing that full time. So I guess I've been kind of in the space for about, 9 years or so. And frankly, one of the things that I think has been an advantage on our end is my catalog is really broad. We have several thousand ASINs. And over the years, my technical, skills have helped us scale on the Amazon side, whether that's for internal tools or anything PPC related. A lot of the tools at the time didn't really work well for super large catalogs. And then frankly, when it came to SQP, I wanted that data piped to a database that I use for my internal analytics, which is called BigQuery. And the only way to fetch it was via the browser, because it wasn't available via API. So the story behind the Chrome extension is that I created a Chrome extension to facilitate the downloading of SQP on an ASIN basis. And then from there, I shared it in the MDS group, and then I launched it for free. So that's kind of where we are. And then other than that, I do have my hands in a few different businesses. I have, first and foremost, on the Amazon side, I operate a few brands. And then on the software side, I have a print-on-demand business called Artello. And then, that's essentially it, without going into the weeds on some of the other things. But is that a good intro? Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. Going way back, man. I mean, you started, I think you told me whenever we met at Accelerate that you started selling online when you were 16. I think when I was 16, I was just messing around on MySpace. So good on you for that. But
I was playing RuneScape.
Yeah. But anyway, Uri, so you built the Seller Utilities app. I've gotten a ton of use out of it. The whole last episode, we were using it to import this data, but you spoke to us this past week and told us that there's a better way to do things, that there's a faster way to do it. So excited to dig into exactly what you have to share with us today. Do you mind just breaking it down for us? And what do we miss? And how can we use the tool better to make this whole process of building the SQP template a little bit faster?
Sure. So by the time you're probably watching this, we'll have coverage for a few other reports. So we'll have the search catalog performance, business reports, and then also brand analytics search terms. But the more important thing here is we added a Google Drive integration. So that Google Drive integration is also free. It's part of the application. And essentially how that works is you integrate within the Chrome extension to any of your Google Drive accounts. And then from there, instead of downloading any data locally, you can also push it to Google Drive, or what we'll demonstrate here in a second is you can pull in any sheet, align the columns of that sheet with the output file that we would be generating. And then we call that basically a configuration. So that anytime you want to use the Google Drive integration or the Chrome extension rather, instead of just like fetching the download and then piping it manually to, let's say, a data sheet that you have, you can do that directly from the Chrome extension. So that's essentially what we were going to demonstrate. So the reason that's much better is it saves you a lot more time. You can just, through the click of one button, have any of your analytics sheets that use the search query performance report data automatically updated as soon as you just click that button and the fetching is finished.
Awesome. Well, let's jump over to a screen share and we're going to go through and demonstrate exactly how all that works. So first up, in case if you haven't already, you're just going to go to the Chrome Web Store, search for Seller Central Utilities. You will find it. The rule is in order to use the extension, you have to leave a review. So 5 stars, best tool out there for SQP reports. And if you don't leave a 5-star review, you're not allowed to use the tool, right? Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's cool though. I mean, it's
Next,
great.
Yeah, it is good, but I just saw there were only 10 reviews, and I don't know if you want to disclose it, but you have a lot more of people using it than that. So, another quick thing, I don't think this showed up on the last one, but there is also you can pull in your tacos and total sales data into the ad console, which is a huge huge help, right? For people rather than having to constantly calculate those things. So when you get this Seller Utilities extension and you plug it in, you'll see that in the UI enhancements, you have the option to show this is the campaign page chart, which is going to show those additional metrics. One quick thing Uri was mentioning before we started the call is that if you are an agency and you're working with multiple brands, the data that's coming through is going to be from the most recent session in Seller Central. So if you have a new tab and if you switch brands, then it will switch the data. So just make sure you're on the right brands that you want to be using in the ad console. You might have to refresh the screen or change the date just to get it to fetch the reports. And then you'll have those nice little additional items up here, which is very nice. So now, brand analytics. We're going to talk about how to pull these search query performance reports from brand analytics into a Google Sheet. And I don't think you don't have to be on that tab. You can be anywhere, but do you have to have that tab open to access this? Or maybe it's just a good best practice just to make sure you're signed into the right seller account.
So you only have to set it up once, but no, you don't have to have it open. All you need to know is just like what the sheet name is, and then you just search for it.
Cool. So you're going to create a sheet, and you're going to have to name a few columns. So just put in the columns for what you are planning on downloading. For us, we did the date because we're going to be pulling from multiple months. And so we just want to have that information in there. Query is obviously going to be the search term coming through. Score is what Amazon, you saw this all in the past episode, so I'm not going to rehash it. But we are, for this purpose, or for this episode, we are going to be going over we're going to be pulling in the search volume, the total impressions, the brand impression share percentage, clicks, brand click share percentage, total purchases, and then the brand total purchase impression, whatever, total purchase share. So those are the columns we're choosing to pull in. The plan for us too, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in here. So the idea is that you just set up your data sheet once. So it is flexible. And then what Steven's going to show you in a second here is that you're essentially setting up a sheet. And from there, the Chrome extension pulls in the actual columns. So it allows you to pick and choose exactly the columns that you want, which it makes it really simple. If let's say you have a complicated data sheet where you only want maybe one or a handful of the columns to be updated via the extension, you can do that. But alternatively, there's also a second thing you can do. We're not going to demo that here, but essentially instead of connected to an existing Google Sheet, what you can do is also generate a Google Sheet, which will then just take the data downloaded via the extension and just add it to a Google Sheet. That's relevant because if you do that the first time, then you can also then use that sheet and update it, and then the columns are already automatically added. Make sense?
Yeah. So we're going to pull in our SQP data now. So we'll hit create. We're going to be pulling in the brand data. You will select your brand. Marketplace will be United States.
First thing we want to do is we first want to set the integration. So go to the sidebar, the little toggle, the hamburger thing in the top left. Yep, and just go to integrations.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you already connected.
So you'll go here. I already connected it, but yeah, you'll see here there's an option to connect to Google Drive. So you would just do that, authorize it, and then you're done. And that was it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So once you've done that, then you can come here and select your brand, select your marketplace. For this one, we're going to do monthly, and we're just going to pull like the last 3 months for now. And then down here, instead of saying save CSV, you're going to say write data to Google Sheet, and that will be grayed out until you've integrated. Once you've integrated, then you will access that. And then we're saving it to this document titled Uri and SQP stuff. And then sheet name will be whatever, however many sheets you have there. What our plan is for me and Andrew is to create a Google Sheet for you guys in which there will be, you're going to have like your raw data sheet up first, and then all the other sheets are going to be charts and formatting and all these different things that will auto-populate after you pull in this data. So that's what we are working on, pending if the last video, I think we needed like 50 comments or whatever to convince us to do that work. So go back and comment on that video to get us to do it. And then what do we do now, Uri?
So we're going to name the configuration. So typically good practice would be to just name it the sheet and then dash the tab name. So if you, let's say you have multiple sheets, in this case it would be Uri and SQP stuff, dash SQP, and then that would basically name the sheet. And then now we can use that sheet a little bit. We can reuse that sheet, I guess. So
cool.
The next thing you'll see, there's 2 options here, and this is actually really important. So in general, there are 2 ways that we can write data to the sheet. We can clear the data before writing it while retaining the column headers, or we can add to existing data on the first available empty row. So in your case, are you going to want to, if you're going to want to wipe, then make sure that you click the first
right. That's great.
Radio button.
Yeah.
So on this example, we don't currently have anything in this data sheet, so we wouldn't necessarily need to like erase the data. But if you were looking at the template that we put together in the last video, that's already going to have a bunch of data populated in it. If you wanted to refresh and pull the previous data that you had before and just make sure it's all accurate and stuff, you can wipe it all and it'll replace it with whatever data you're putting in there.
So
right?
So you would have already made, let's say we already had 12 months of data on this. A new month closes. We want to add one additional report to it. You would just say, add that existing data, and it will just append it to the end. And then if you were just trying to do like 1 month at a time or whatever, and you're using the same template and you just want to wipe it out, this is basically just saving you the hassle of having to go through and highlight all your rows and manually delete them. So in this case, doesn't make a difference. We'll just say add, and then here
make a comment on the comment on the header row. So now, so by default, we say the header row starts at 1, but sometimes people like grouping columns together. So if you have your header row starting on, let's say, row 3, then you would just enter row 3, and then that interacts with the actual fields. So just gonna mention that.
Yeah. So people, you would like group these together, and this would be your, you'd have impressions here, and then you'd have your clicks here. And then in that case, I would say start at 2.
Yeah, and then we'll
refresh, and you'll refetch the rows. There we go. So we've got, you'll see these are now pulling in whatever we had listed here. So for date, obviously, we're going to go with the reporting date. Query is going to be the search query. Score will be the search query score. Volume will be volume. Impressions total count. Share is impressions brand share percentage. And then Andrew's going to tell us a joke while I continue this.
Not good at jokes.
Well, you don't have that many left. I'm telling you, there's not there wasn't a better way to implement this, because you do have to map the columns unless you don't want to allow for like flexibility. So then just click save when you're done.
Then submit.
And now you should be good to go.
All right, so we'll hit submit. And then this depends on like how many reports you're doing. It may take a while sometimes. So we'll probably cut this out, but do you want to just tell people really quickly, Uri, maybe any ways to strategize, like how long should they expect this to take? Why does it take that long? And a couple things on that real quick.
Yeah, sure. So it is fetching data on the browser, and to fetch that data, we're essentially mimicking the actions you would take if you were to paginate through the result pages on the search query performance report table. So that's essentially saying what the Chrome extension does is it is essentially request Amazon to give you 100 items at a time. So the reason the brand takes a lot longer than ASIN is because for brands you typically get 1,000. You get 1,000 queries, right? So that's 10 pages, and then you multiply that by one brand, and you multiply that over 3 periods. So then you have 300. Wait, what did I say? So you had 10. So you had 30. You have 30 requests, and the 30 requests are spaced out 5 seconds at a time. 5 seconds is something that I don't know if I should be mentioning this, but essentially we space out the request 5 seconds at a time. So it takes a minute 30 is essentially what we're looking at.
Yeah, and that's just to avoid any potential issues from Amazon, rate limiting you or things like that.
Yeah, just we don't want to spam Amazon servers. So, you know that that's not the case, because if you wanted to look in the dev console, you'll see that there is no 429 errors or anything like that. So this is like the safe way to do this. So the good thing about it though is you can technically like exit out of the Chrome extension, but the cool thing is you can just do whatever you need to do and just set it, forget it, and just run it whenever you want. So now configuration was annoying, but we saved that configuration. So the next time around, you can just choose the data destination, and instead of clicking write data to Google Sheet, you just choose the configuration you already got set up. And then from there,
gotcha. Okay.
It's much easier.
Cool. Yeah. So I saw when at least there was like an autofill that popped up for me at first that said like podcast test. So I could have just picked that, and that would have loaded the stuff that we did before we hit the record button, right?
Yeah, I'll show you.
That was the first.
So this is about the end. I'll show you where to find that. Where to find that in a second.
We didn't even have to cut. We filled the time, so that was great. Good work. All right, writing report data to Google Sheet. Boom. So now we got this data. I'm going to delete this row because we don't really need that. So now we have 3,000 because there was 1,000 for each month of queries, and now we have all of that here. So we've got our 3 months of data, and on the last episode you saw us pull, I think it was like 18 months, and we showed how you can create some charts and everything from there. And so the next step now is, like I said, Andrew and I are going to create that Google Sheet that you would then have following here. You'd have a lot of sheets set up with some pivot tables and charts that will create visualizations for all this data, because obviously no one can just look at 3,000 rows of numbers and make sense of it just like that. So that will be the next steps for us, and it's a very cool tool.
Yeah, this is great. I can certainly see a lot of use cases for this. Is going to help us out in our reporting and getting this stuff pulled together much more quickly. And with that template in mind, just being able to come in, already have those preset configurations, just click a couple buttons and add the most recent month's data in there. That's awesome. So this is great.
So
yeah, whoa. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say before we wrap this episode, Yuri, I'd like to hear if you can just share with the people the best use case applications that you've found for this report, how you're using it in your business.
Sure. So I mentioned earlier that I have a pretty wide catalog. It's for a long time, I've always like wanted to know on an aggregate basis where my sales are actually coming from a PPC side. So aggregating, let's say, the search term reports and stitching those together is something that I've been doing for years. That's relevant in my category specifically because the keyword niche is extremely broad. So it's really important for me to make, let's say, PPC decisions on a long time series basis. So the natural extension to to a use case like that would be doing it with organic purchases from the SQP report. That's one of them. The original reason that I started looking into the SQP report was there was, I think I watched like a podcast about using the brand analytics search term report data to get the conversion share of a specific, like a competitor for a specific keyword. And then if you have that conversion share, you can multiply that by the total purchases for a specific search term on a specific period. And because those date ranges can match up, then you can kind of get a directional idea of how many purchases those top 3 slots actually like have. So when you're launching a product, and let's say it's important for your main keyword to try to beat the top 3%, then you can have a good indication of how many purchases you need to derive during a launch for a specific keyword. I've used that intermittently. However, it wasn't something that I was able to like scale. And then I would say the other thing is that I've used it a lot for is segmenting my ad spend between like profitable campaigns versus like ranking campaigns. And on the ranking campaign side, I'm trying to use the SQP data to get a comparison, to get an idea of how my ASINs perform on a relative basis on a conversion rate or purchase rate basis. So I can look and see, okay, well, my purchase share for this, let's say, ASIN is much lower than my click share. Then it's a good indication that my ASIN is performing much better on a purchase rate basis, and then therefore I would want to spend more because I want to get a higher share of clicks, right? So it's decisions like that augment your ability to take advantage of PPC for the sake of ranking organically, which is ultimately what a lot of people claim they do with PPC, but without having the data to kind of facilitate that, you're kind of shooting darts in the dark, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So would you say you found so looking at the purchases ASIN count, would you say you found this to be pretty accurate? That because before the SQP, we had no insights to, like, people can say what are our top performing search terms or whatever, and you can find that obviously in the ad console pretty easily. And if you're using single product ad groups, you can find out for each product like what are the keywords that are driving most of the sales. We never really had that information for the organic side. So you're saying with this, you're taking that, and that's like the total. So you're subtracting. Would you say like I can now find this ASIN, subtract the ad sales from this keyword, and find out how many organic sales I'm getting from that keyword?
No. So my understanding of the SQP data is a bit different. So this is just search term related, and it's not related to. Well, I shouldn't say search term related. I guess it's like organic search oriented as opposed to PPC oriented. So the only thing that's counted as a purchase is an organic search where an ASIN is clicked, and then that same ASIN, not a variation, is purchased.
Got it.
So it actually undercounts the organic purchases.
Okay.
So if you look into this data enough, especially for like low volume keywords, you'll often find that you might have for a specific date range more PPC purchases than even total purchases for that search term for the same date period on the SQP. That's because, let's say you have a search term that maybe has like 300 searches a month. If it had, let's say, 2 PPC sales and then 1 organic sale for the entire, like for all organics of total purchases, That could be true because those data sets are completely different. So it kind of like complements the PPC data, but it's wholly separate from it. And the biggest caveat there that I should mention is keep in mind that if you have a specific ASIN that you're doing the ASIN search for, then the total purchases are only for that child variation, not any of its sibling variations. So think about it like as a floor, generally speaking.
Yeah. Great.
Cool. Well, Uri, this tool has obviously added a lot of value, and we've been using it a lot. But can you tell us kind of what you have in store for us next, or is there any future developments, iterations, or anything like that you can share with us? Like, what's the future of seller utilities for us?
Yeah, give us the secret roadmap.
Okay, so
that's exclusively available on this podcast.
Okay, so the good news is that it's going to remain free. I have, I'm doing this kind of as a side project. I was very excited about the initial adoption, and from there, I very recently made a bit of a commitment to hire an additional dev on the engineering side of my company to kind of work a lot more towards new features. So in the short term, we're going to be releasing some more report coverage. So I mentioned in the current iteration of the Chrome extension, we don't have business reports, search terms, or search catalog performance. Those are all going to be added probably maybe even before this episode drops. Then the second thing we're going to do is build more coverage on reports, and then also start doing search like keyword ranking via the Chrome extension as well. So the way that's going to work, it's going to be a pretty big. I'm not going to launch any features unless I think there's an upgrade on any other existing Chrome extensions. But basically, my goal is to continue adding more features. I'm now able to do it at a slightly faster cadence, and hopefully the community likes it and the user count grows. That's kind of the idea. And the more feedback I get, the more downloads, the more emails, and the more things like this, the more it helps everything grow, and the bigger the incentive I have to create better tools, I guess. Does that make sense? But long story short,
awesome.
A lot of things coming up the pike, and in fact, two of these guys are going to be top of line to kind of tell me which of the features I should add, and I've already shared a few different ideas that we're working on with them, and they gave me the thumbs up, so that's all looking good on that front.
Awesome. So Uri, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Probably on LinkedIn. I'm going to try to be a little bit more active. I'm going to, I make posts on there probably a couple times a month. I check that daily. That's probably best. You can friend me. I don't really know what the connection limit is, but I don't think I've reached it. So give me a follow or connect with me there. If you want to shoot me an email.
There's no connection limit.
If you want to shoot me an email, good.
Oh, sorry.
There's no connection limit. So then, just connect.
I mean, you can only send 200 connect requests per week, but you can also receive as many as you want. There's no limits there.
Yeah. I guess I've got 300. Sorry. Yeah, I've got 300 connections sitting in my inbox because I posted about this search query performance thing that we were doing. So yeah, you can get a lot.
Yeah.
One thing I'd say is if you do want to have input into the direction of the tool, then just open up the Chrome extension and click on the feature requests form, and that will open up a Google form. And I look at that at least once a week, and that actually, if you track to see what was on that form, you'll see that a lot of the newer features are a function of who's voted. So if you want to have your favorite feature added, you can recommend it or vote on the ones that other people have generated.
Awesome. Well, we'll include the link to your LinkedIn in the show notes, so you guys reach out to Uri. And Uri, thank you so much for building this, because it's super helpful for us and everyone listening. And thank you also for coming on and showing us how to make a little more use out of it.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week on That Amazon Ads Podcast.